girls, boys, good afternoon. So welcome to NTU. Welcome to my lecture. I will talk about what is politics, what is a political argument. In particular, I give some tips how to write a political essay. Hopefully, after this lecture, you will achieve a high score in your exam. Okay, I'll give you the detailed tips. Then I will talk about what is public policy and global affairs. And hopefully, I will see some of you in the near future. If not far away, maybe next time. Okay? So, what is politics? You know, idea of the politics always in the daily life. I don't know how the Singapore talking about. Always associated with something dirty. It's really something better to never touch it. Our parents always told us, "Oh, don't touch politics." When I was like your age, I started to study philosophy when I was young, just like your age. Then my mother, she has no idea what is philosophy politics about. Then she asked her brother, who was a professor at Wuhan University. Then my uncle suggest to my mom, said, no, never take a philosophy, social science, politics, economy. Always do natural science. Do the technology. And that is safe, always safe. And always it's ideal. Then you always have a good job for So that's the popular in China from my lifetime. I guess many people probably in Singapore too hold such a view. So I do share their such views. Those views does have some validity. I will show in a minute. But at the same time, politics is no more prize. I'll show you a number of pictures later on. If you are lucky to be a great statesman, you will make a great contribution, not to your Singapore, but to the global affairs today. Singapore today, you are lucky, you might able to, in this time of these times, you are able, unlike your parents, you are able to grab the best opportunity to be work in UN, to be work in the big international organization. 30 years ago, unimaginable. Okay, so that's a short introduction. Let's see. So I just look at the dictionary. They tell us that politics is the activities and relate to influence the action and the policy of the government, of getting and keep power in a government. So that's the public key. Mostly important is getting and keep power. Politics always about fighting power. When I get power, I need to maintain it. That's the key essence of the politics. And the politics is sort of the work or job of the people, such elected officials who are part of the government. That's another meaning. Certainly means the politics is a opinion that someone has about what should be done by the government. A person produces thoughts and opinion. Pay attention to the term, what should be done. That it means politics is involved not only what it is what involved what ought to be done. Okay, so we will come out to a lot of public policy issues in the Singapore country. What Singapore should do in terms of the population policy, in terms to do with the party system, many issues. All the issues involved ought to do questions. So this is the standard that comes from the Webster.com. You can go to the online. So I said politics is a dirty word. So this immediately tell us politics is an exchange between power and money. Give an example. Politics exchange between sex and power. That we already know have a lot of stories in Singapore, isn't it? So some politicians enjoy power, then get the women sleeping with the one, then those women can get the deal Okay, so those are just very common views. So I just give you a very common view. Now, wait a minute. Now I give you very kind of academic view, three views of the politics. So the first view is the politics is a kind of process by which people pursue collective goals and deal with their conflict. And so authoritative by means of the government. So please pay attention. This is a government-oriented view of the politics. That is, look at the politics from government perspective. That is institutions who make decisions, like the British Parliament. It is a set of a rule. You have to follow the rule to make a decision. And you have actors. So that's one standard view. Then we have another view about politics. The politics is the activity by which group reach binding collective decision through attempting to reconcile differences among their members. Now, probably many of them are not aware of this kind of definition. This definition is talking about reconciliations different among their members. It is the public-oriented perspective of politics. It is focused on the public communication, public deliberation, discussions to solve our differences. So, for example, Singapore conversations, you know, the Singapore conversation I've been seeing in the news. So that's one example of the called politics. Then there's very important, another very important way when we come to politics about authoritative advocate of value for society. This value, the notion of value, can be resources, can be income, can be tax, can be all something related to the value. So it can be allocated like even the value in terms of the rights, each individual rights. So we allocate our rights according to Constitution, equal rights. Everyone should be enjoying equal rights. That's also the essence of the politics. So that politics is a kind of allocation of the values. It's very important. Catch up the key elements of the politics. Okay, so I'll give you those three perspectives, and which one is the right, which one is the best, which one you prefer, you work out yourself. In the politics, there's no defined answer. Unlike you study mathematics, you got only one answer. That's only one that's correct. Otherwise, others are wrong. In politics, always you don't find any collective answer. Remember, what's so-called a collective line or collective answer always imposed by authority upon us. Actually, there's no such collective line at all. So keep open. So let's talk about politics. Everyone knows Obama. So what is the politics about Obama? The key politics about Obama is very tricky. That is, if he didn't marry a white wife, probably today in this world, we still want to see a black president. Maybe we have to wait another 20 years to see a black president. So a mixed marriage gave Obama a favorable condition that helped him to win the election. What is that? That's a politics. That is about how the American public in general view that they can accept a black, but they prefer as a mixed black, not a pure black. Okay. So that is a politics. Let's take an example of the politics. Okay, everyone knows Bin Ki-moon. That's first the Asians to be General Secretary of the UN. What about Bin Ki-moon? Why don't they pick someone from China or from British, from Germany? You know, that's a politics. That is, UN was set up, and the General Secretary is a weak position. It is always gives this position to someone from the Africa, Asia, not powerful country. Powerful country should not get that position. And that's, again, is a politics. Okay, we see many cases, this is again a long time ago had a drink with me. Okay, so that's a 3PP, that's in the United States, and I hope everyone knows that. Does anyone know that? The story? Okay. So we see that Bill Gates. So we see those people. Now I ask you a question. How do individual groups influence political decision? What are the currency of the political power? Anyone think about why those people can influence politics? What kind of things they influence? Who would like to say? What do you think? Anyone? Everyone can answer this one. What do individual groups influence political decision?
Money.
Money, yeah, excellent. Money. That's how we see that picture there. Money. Yeah. What else? Huh?
Elections.
Election, yes. What else?
Ideas.
Idea, yeah, public opinion. That's good. What else? What is the most important one? If you want to be a politician, you must control those basic elements. Huh?
Diplomacy.
Huh? What was this one? Just speak again. I just
Diplomacy.
Huh?
Diplomacy.
Poverty.
No, diplomacy.
Diplomacy. Yeah. That is certainly, yeah, that's a skill. Yes. So I'll give you a list. Here's a list. If you want to be, you need a gun. You know, without politician, without gun backup, then the politician is powerless. Okay. Despite you are elected, like the current Thailand Prime Minister, okay? She was elected, but the military did not support her. So she is powerless. Okay? You need the gun support. So you need money. In the United States, without money, you can't be run for Senate. So you need resources, you need people's power. That's important today. You need people's support. Okay? And you need international support, diplomacy. You need knowledge, someone said that. And you need fear. You know, why you need fear? To be a politician, the best politician, always manipulate people's fear to advance what they want. Okay? Then you need religions sometimes. In America, you must be a faith. If the non-Islamists, unlike you can be elected to be the So you need a media, the Christmas credential. But one of the things someone already said before, I should emphasize, knowledge. Today in this world, you really need a must command the knowledge. Then you can influence others. So knowledge, that is today we try to learn, is extremely important. Okay, so we're talking about this, how the politician influence politics. So what is the purpose of the political science? So we'll come to the second items. So remember, I said there's three things we will do. First, we'll study what is politics. Second, we'll study what is political argument. So study a political argument is belong to political science. So there's, as you study mathematics, engineering, chemistry, there is a branch of the discipline they call the political science. So purpose of political science, to follow this dictionary, is the kind of the arts or science of government. The arts of science concerned with guiding or influence governmental policy. The arts of science concerning with winning and holding control of the government. So to be a politician, you need to command the arts of the government. You need to develop your skill in political science. So in political science, we will study, explain what's going on, we will understand how things happen, we will make some predictions. This is important prediction. And we will give some prescription. The doctor give us prescriptions. A good politicians give excellent prescriptions of how to fix the social problems. So that's a political science about it. So as you know, you have been studying the natural science, you study the Newton law. In political science, also they try to study the law. The law regulates political behavior. So a political law is a regularly occurring association or correlation between two more variables. So I'll give you just 3 examples of this political law. One law is the Michel's iron law of oligarchies. So this is the oligarchy. Therefore, this is a book. We call it the sociology law of oligarchy. In every organization activity, no matter the sphere, a small number will become the oligarchical leader, and the other will follow. This is a picture tell you, whatever you start with a revolution, like a communist revolution, everyone pursuing the novel idea, everyone are equal. What you aim is a few people sit down on the top, rest of us just to be followed. That's a hierarchy. It's kind of is a political law. Now let's go back another law, and Jewish law. That is why some states, some democratic states produce 2 parties. Why some democratic party states produce multi-party system. So the answer is related to their electoral system. That is, electoral system based on single-member district tend to produce 2 parties, while the system with proportional representation tends to produce multi-party. Straightforward. You look at the Asian context, when those countries now currently have 2-party system, almost all adopt single-member district method. Taiwan, Japan, Korea. So Indonesia so far is a mixed system. They are mixed with a single-member district method and a proportional representation system. So at the moment, we don't see Indonesia kind of really clearly 2-party system going on in there. So there's another law they call democratic peace theory. Why in the 21st century we see significant reduction of the war across our world? And more than that, we never see 2 democracies fighting each other in the 20th century. So then they call it democratic peace theory. That is a democracy never fighting each other. Democracy might fight war with authoritarian states, but democracy never fights each other. So that's another law. Okay, the political science is to try to study those kind of pattern, law, kind of political behavior or outcome. Okay, so that's the kind of further about this my work on democracy. So we're talking about political science, and I think you don't need to take the pictures because we will upload in the system. You can download it later on. So don't worry about that. So everything will be online. Huh? So everything will be online. Don't worry about taking the notes. At the moment, just okay? So we just basically talking about political science discipline. So So under this political science, we have a sub-discipline. One is the comparative politics. So that if we compare, there's a discipline examining political reality in the country all over the world. It look at in many ways the government operates and the way people behave in political life. So then another discipline is the international relations, communities, and the public policy, public administration, and the political theories. So that's roughly we have four sub-disciplines of the political science. Okay. So that's the IR discipline, international relations. So that is the most we are talking about. Deal with the global affairs. So that is our name of our discipline program called. We call public policy and global affairs. So today, this really challenging issue for international relations study is the rivalry between China and the United States in Asia. And that is the rise of China, but also rise of Asia. And they are reshaping global order. So I just said it before, you are extremely lucky, better than your parents, in particular better than grandparents. Your grandparents come from China, very poor villages, only living. Now suddenly, in your lifetime, in your own lifetime, you have a great opportunity to become great statesmen, to reshape. No one can have such imagination before. That's impossible. Today, you are possible. This is possible. What we do today. Okay, here I'll give you some example about IR, the current and the power relations. So about the global power. So I'll give you some top 10. United States, #1. So when it comes to 2030, China believes to be #1 in the world. So I just can look at how many the Asian power will come in the in your lifetime. So if you think about 2030, at that time, how old will you? At that time, 2030. 30. About 30 years old time. You will be about 30 years if you are about 2030. So you will see at that time tremendous shift going on. China, India, Japan, 3 Asian powers, and become the really top global power in the world. America still remains the top power, but it's only one. But this will be tremendous change, unlike the current situation, only in the next 15 or 20 years. So here I'll give you some pictures, tell you what's going on. That's American kind of relationship. Okay, now, so you should be quiet now. This is about your exam. And hopefully, listen to me carefully and take the notes as much as you can. And that will help you to achieve a high score in your what they call a general paper. So here we look at what is political argument. What I do is I look at the 6 questions in the general paper 2012, and the other one is 2011. So let's just very quickly look at those are related to the public policy and global. Now, one of the questions: to what extent are the rights of animals protected in your society? So if we look at this question is it's a kind of descriptive, empirical question. So it's question about extent. And then it is talking the rights of animals, and the protection in your country, society. And then The second is violence justified? Now, that's a normative question. Is the violence justified? This is a very tough question. So when you receive this issue, this question, immediately you should locate this issue into maybe the best locate this question into certain specific sphere. So you might say that it's difficult for us to talk about violence in general because if we let's say is the domestic violence justified? In the past, in the old ways, domestic violence means husband beat wife or beat their children, punish their children if children do not study hard. That's normally accepted by a society. But today, it is a whole society change. Such is violence are no longer acceptable. So how do you? So this is one of the issues. I'll give you some example. Come back to this issue again. The third question is the key criteria for good government is how well the economy is managed. Is this a fair assessment? That's the answer. The fourth question, consider the view that efficient government is more important than democracy. So efficient government is more important than democracy. To what extent is it acceptable for private company to be involved in financing scientific research? So the scientific research today largely people should be funded by government. But to a degree, private sector can support funding. Then how far should the country aim to be self-sufficient? So those 6 countries in the last 2 years are related to the politics. So let's look at what, before we address those 6 questions, we need to help you to understand what is argument. Because what is argument? So if you look, go to Google, what is the argument? This you come across. You get. An argument is an attempt to persuade someone of something by giving reason for accepting a particular conclusion as evidence. So that's the one definition. So argument is it is about a proposition, a view, opinion. So a certain solution to a problem. So when you make an argument, that is you are trying to solve certain problem, be an intellectual problem, a practical problem, a policy problem, whatever. It is always remember problem-driven. An argument is about to address certain problems. So all those 6 questions, actually, all are the problems faced today's Singapore society. So that is those examples ask you of your solution, your view, your judgment, your opinion. That is about argument. So remember, don't repeat what other people said. You need to work out yourself. Okay, the argument is a position, an opinion articulated in a statement or a set of statements that you want to defend, prove, or confirm. So your argument can comprise a number of sub-arguments or propositions that need analysis. So you have a central argument, then you have some sub-arguments. So now I just take up briefly what is the argument. So then what is the best argument? You know, if you want to achieve a high score, okay, that is you need a criteria. What is the criteria? Help you get the high score. So this is the best argument always guided by an established theory. So when you say something before we set those 6 questions, animal rights, or democracy efficiency. So anyone see if you can do the animal rights, if anyone can think about a great book called Animal Liberation, started an author, started his theory, immediately, you are better positioned. Okay, so always guarded by an established theory. Just remember the word, an established theory. That is, this theory has been proven, have support by the empirical evidence, not a wrong theory. A wrong theory will not help you at all. So you must make sure the theory you use are fully established and proven. And always have a clearly articulated, that you make a very clear argument, precise statements. That's it. Not the kind of use a vague term. We'll come back on this issue. Collect and evaluate concrete competing evidence. So always present arguments with evidence, with support. So arguments is not just, this is my personal view. You can't work that. It is part of my judgment, but their judgment supported by the evidence. And you need an integrate several point of view that reinforce each other. So you have a central argument, then you have a number of sub-arguments, then you put together. I'll come back to this in a short minute. And solve a controversial issue. That's which I just said in previously, like Singapore's many issue, population issue, that's a controversial issue. So make a new contribution in human understanding. That's extremely high demand. But do remember when you make an argument, whether I made some contributions to improve our understanding. So people are wondering what is argument. I'll give you two examples, arguments. So one argument is a kind of direct argument. The direct argument is that Marco Walsh argues, this is the word. Marco Walsh argues that soldier and statesman can override the rights of innocent people for the sake of their political communities. For example, in the Second World War, the airline bombing in the German cities, many innocent citizens of the Germans were killed. So that's the way, but for Marco Walsh, those violence can be justified because they are for their own political community. So that is, he justified violence in terms of maintaining one's own political community. That's really communitarian argument. Okay, but it is permissible for states to commit violence in this kind of country. But when the violence is committed by non-state actor, by the individuals, if individual pick a weapon, gun, kill another citizen, then that individual must be punished. But if soldier pick the gun, kill the citizen of another country, that's okay. So this is one of the arguments. The issue is that we can come back to issue. Is the violence justifiable? Marco Walsh said that it is justifiable. Okay. Anyone can say some argument disagree with Marco Walsh, said that this kind of justification is invalid. Anyone say that? What do you say? From your intuition, from your heart, can you accept Marco Walsh's argument? Tell me. How many accept Marco Walsh's argument? How many? Yeah? Just those who accept Marco Walsh's arguments, raise your hand. Yeah? So those who disagree with him, please hold the hand. So quite a few disagree. So so those who didn't raise their hand, what's your position? I wonder. Okay, let's go back to this issue. So some you disagree. Why you disagree? Can anyone give me one argument? One view that why? Yes, please.
Okay. There are two counter arguments to the argument by Mr. Michael. One is that you can argue all lives are equal, so there's no absolute justice in the sacrifice of one life in attempt to achieve greater betterment. Another argument is that you have to justify the righteousness of the purpose of the soldier when he picks up the gun. Is his intention justified in the first place?
That's right, yeah. Excellent. They're very good arguments. You know, that's right. The view you present is there's a philosophy, Kant. Do you know the Kant? Kant holds such views. So all the human life are equal. You see, and he rejects utilitarian kind of justification. We can kill someone for the other people. So that's a Kant's view. So this is a really excellent example. So we have different views. So let's still go back to this issue. So let's think. So let's go back to this. Is the violence justifiable? This is the issue. So when you addressed, you might say, okay, there's two competing views. Say, for example, Marco was provide justification for the state violence. Then you can argue that I hold competing view, the Kantian view. Then you go to the detail. You said the one argument, but you need to go to a little bit detail. They argue against it. So that's the perfect one essay to talk. So this is always turned out to be very outstanding strong essay because you are targeted at very famous producers and a common view everyone holds, but you make a story that's unjustifiable. But there's another third way because there's a few people didn't support it or did not disagree with it. So there's a third view. So what you might say, someone might just say, there's a two views. One is justified violence, one is thinking not justified. And there's possibility there's another view. So then you prevent another view. You try to say reconcile those two views. So what I suggest you might think about different ways. Okay. Let's still go back. So that's one example, the direct argument. And then there's the indirect argument. So I just found this in the Google Scholar. So you might have those words you can find out. So the idea in this article, attention is drawn to a striking differences between recent attempts to reform local government in the Netherlands and Germany. Trends in local government reform in the Netherlands have been going from focus on more efficient to a focus on more democracy, while trends in local government reform in Germany have been going on the other way around. So this is the paper stating that way. It's not make a direct argument. Come back to this question, which is actually the issue relates to this one. The considered view that efficient government is more important than democracy. So what that paper is trying to point out? Okay, look, in the Netherlands, they previously focused efficient government, now they focus on democracy. But in the Germany, previously focused on democracy, now started to focus on efficient government. So this is really interesting for us to, when we address this issue, then we ask why. So what you might need to do if you have this chance to visit this issue, let's just don't fall into this trap. You ask the presupposition of this question itself. And then you look at this, those are just those two cases, those German and Netherlands. So actually then you raise a more profound question. Okay, so I'll just give you two examples. So let me just give you some tips about how to make arguments. So what you really need is to really formulate and develop refined arguments. And most of you probably don't really have arguments. You don't know how to do those issues. So you really need to develop arguments. And build a strong basis. You need some evidence. Always consider that. Always engage self-criticism. On what ground will my argument be embedded, incorrect, or refuted? So engage self-criticism. That's a very important techniques to develop good arguments. And structure your arguments, that is your main arguments and sub-points together. And refine the arguments, think of rival theory. So give you examples. I've been teaching the comparative politics currently, like almost things. Some students think that one-party domination is better than the two-party system in terms of the corruption index. So Singapore is a number 5 in terms of the corruption-free countries. So it's enjoying extremely high index of the clean government. Then compare those two-party systems, India, Malaysia, India, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. Those are two-party systems. Actually, their index is very low. Then they draw this conclusion that is one-party system better than two parties to produce this corruption-free effect. But then I suggest, why don't you think about a rival theory? A rival theory is arguing that actually two-party system is better than the one-party system to produce the corruption-free effect. Let's think opposite. Then immediately you look back those data again. So I just said that Singapore is a number 4 or 5. But as a number 4, like New Zealand is number 1, it's a two-party system. Other 3 Northern Europe countries also two-party system. So if you think about the county example, immediately that